In this video, we are joined by the Italiano and El Slimer. El Slimero. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong.
El Slimero.
There we go. There we
This-
go. We're talking all
That,
about
that, that sounded more sexier. There you go.
much more, much more. I kind of massacred it. But we're talking all about the Treehouse. We're talking about Walt Disney World. We're talking about all kinds of stuff. It's from coast to coast today on OG 55. Welcome aboard to another episode of OG 55. I have a fantastic panel with me today. I have down below Slimer. Welcome back on the show, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me back. I didn't expect to be back so soon, but I'm really glad I'm here. And we have a lot to talk about today. We're going to be covering every whole slew of subjects here.
Absolutely. And Slimer is not on social media, but you can absolutely find him in the live chat to all our premieres and our live shows. He's active in our community. So say hi to him if you see him in our live chat. And also Slimer, it wouldn't feel right if we didn't officially chime you in. Here we go.
And all these dollars got commas that come with commas behind them. And all my slammers be slamming. And all my slammers be slamming. And all my slammers be slamming. And all my slammers be slamming.
There you go. Slimer, you're officially in the house, man.
All right, thank you.
And we got the Italiano over here, Citrus George. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be on. And when I approached OG on these topics that we're going to discuss tonight, he asked me. He said, "Do you want to have anybody on?" And I said, "Oh, let's get Slimer on. You know, he's good. He's very knowledgeable, and plus he signed the OG 55 registration form. So what can I say?"
There you go. There you go.
But if everyone wants to follow me on social media, you could do so on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on the podcast, A Walk with Walt. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
Perfect. All right, you both are officially in. So let's dive into our topics at hand today. We got stuff from coast to coast. Go ahead and pull this up. Okay, so this is this is courtesy of WDW, and this is from Disney World. It says here, Walt Disney World reportedly launching dining availability alert and date range searching soon. According to WDWMagic.com, Walt Disney World will soon roll out 2 new features to make booking dining reservations via the My Disney Experience app easier: availability alerts and date range searching. Okay, so this is interesting. So it says here the new features are expected by the end of the year, with more updates in 2024. What are your thoughts on this? On this, George? I know you're pretty savvy with the the dining stuff. I know you've gotten Lamplight Lounge reservations, which is pretty much impossible, but somehow you managed to do that. So what do you think about this dining stuff?
I think, honestly, I think Disney is starting to recognize that it's very difficult to get dining reservations, almost like for anything nowadays. Like, there were certain signature restaurants, such as Le Cellier in the France Pavilion at Epcot, is very difficult to get. Just as an example. But then as time went on, it just seems like a sci-fi dine-in at Hollywood Studios is very difficult to get. And I feel like that Disney is trying to kind of maneuver the ways of how, it could be a little bit more simplified for guests to be able to get these dining reservations, such as getting like alerts, and then it may be expanding out the date ranges that the availability is, because I believe it used to be 90 days out for dining, and then it moved to 60.
Okay.
And I don't know if maybe they're considering on doing that, going back to the 90 days, when that says about the date range. But I think they're in a good position right now with everything kind of reopening to kind of flesh out, finding ways for people that are going on these vacations, that are spending the money to kind of give them a sense of, you know what, I could have a chance at getting some sort of reservation for at least hopefully like a couple of the restaurants rather than nothing, and just having to do quick service meals. And then sometimes you can go up and see if you could be put on a wait list or what have you, but even then that's not even a guarantee.
Yeah, and I appreciate this. It seems like Walt Disney World, especially, seems to be listening to guests. And I mean, in the same, I think it's the same month. I think January of 2024. You're not going to need a reservation if you buy a ticket. You know, I believe you still have to with the annual passes, but even that has been rolled back quite a bit, right? So they're doing that. They're doing this, and a lot of third-party websites and apps kind of provide this service. Now Disney will officially provide it. I don't know. Look, credit where it's due. You know, I think Disney, you know, they do fuck up a lot, and you know, we call them out on that. But when they do right and they actually listen and they create a service that's actually, you know, of value, I think it's important to point to that as well. But what do you think, Slimer? What's your thoughts on this, sir?
Yeah, I agree with everything both of you guys just said right now. And, you know, we had been talking about what are some ways we can improve Walt Disney World in a prior show. You can check that out on Orange Grove 55. But this is one of those small things that really is a big difference to a lot of people, especially for the local residents, because not all the local residents want to go to a theme park. Sometimes they just want to go to Walt Disney World to have a nice dinner. And with the current system, you know, whenever you're picking a date, it's kind of like looking under individual rocks. Like, hey, let me turn this rock over and see what's available. Let me turn this rock over. And I mean, that's what it really feels like when you're trying to make a dinner reservation with the current system. But this, you know, it shows you the entire breadth, the entire calendar, hopefully 60 to 90 days, like George stated. And you can just see what's available, and you can start planning around future dates a lot easier. So, you know, taking those points of pressures away from the guests, whether they're travelers, whether they're Florida residents, you know, those are those things that are going to, you know, put the vacation right back into, you know, Walt Disney World vacation. So, yeah, definitely move in the right direction. Anything to simplify the experience is, you know, that's always good in my book. And, they just need to keep on going with this. They're listening. They must be listening to Orange Grove 55 because we've only been saying this stuff for years. So,
exactly.
You know, the fact that they're putting this in motion, hey, awesome. I can't wait to use it, you know, to be honest with you. Hopefully I'll be able to see Space 220 down there one day because I haven't had the opportunity to go.
Oh.
But, yeah, it's one of those.
I usually stick with me. I don't know how in the hell I did it, but I ended up getting a reservation.
That's great.
We got into that one. That's an interesting one, Slimer. I think you'll really dig that. That was a crazy experience, dude.
Yeah, I really hope I get the chance to experience it sooner than later, and hopefully the system will be able to facilitate that. And, you know, with the notifications, I mean, that's a phenomenal concept. I mean, you know, granted, you know, everybody's going to get a notification if, like, let's say Space 220 becomes available, and it's going to become a, you know, first come first serve. But, you know, at least you're getting a notification. You don't have to stay on your phone waiting for an availability to show up or refreshing the screen. So, yeah, great move. I'm really happy with this.
100%. Now, I didn't see it in the article. Maybe information's out there. This is a free service, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
As far as I know, yeah.
That's the impression I was getting as well. Do you guys fear that this might eventually become a monetized thing where certain people, if you buy into whatever, then you get access to this feature? Is that something that you might think that might be rolled out later on? Or
that's a possibility because there are third-party websites. Mouska Pros is one of them. And if you pay a monthly fee, you can utilize them, and they can, if you pick a time and a date and a restaurant kind of in a range of when you would look for it, they will notify you through text. And it has worked. Our mutual friend Mindy swears by it. She uses it all the time, and it hasn't failed her since. So, but that is also, I believe, a monthly charge, if I'm not mistaken. So if Disney was to utilize something on their own terms, you know, why not have the money go to them than this third-party website? So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. But if fans then get up in arms of saying, oh, here's another thing we got to get charged for, well, if you end up using this third-party website, you're doing the same thing. It's just the extra money is just going to Disney.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they're trying to get in on that. You know, they probably see, I think Touring Plans does this and things and sites like that. And Disney's like, hey, why aren't we? I mean, this is our park. Why don't we get in on this? And it makes sense. It really does make sense. Just make sure that when you're dining, you go with the right people. You don't want to go with, you know, I personally have known people. that they are so cheap. They go and sit with you at these restaurants, and they won't buy a thing. And then they'll hover over you. Are you gonna eat that? You gonna eat that?
Yeah.
Have you guys ever had that experience before? It's so bad. It's so bad. What about you, George?
Multiple times, yes.
Really?
I have dined with people where it was just like they'll, it's like you order something and it's like they take it as it's like this family buffet style where it's like, well, I'll just take a little bit of that, I'll take a little bit of that. You want that, and then just pow it all on their plate. It's like, what the hell?
I'm telling you, man. You got the fork in your mouth like that. You gonna eat that, bro? Yeah, dude. You're fucking eating it.
Lay off my plate, guys.
Come on,
it's
dude.
like
prison style.
It's like if you guys ever see the episode of Friends where Joey takes his date out, and his character, he likes no one touching his food, and she orders like a salad or something, but then she starts picking at his plate, grabbing his fries, and he's just like staring at her, and she just keeps on grabbing, not even asking, just grabbing. And he's like looking, he's like, don't touch my food.
That's great. That's fantastic. Well, speaking of food, we're going to pivot now to the Disney Treasure, the newest Disney cruise liner rolling out very, very soon, or shipping out.
You called this one, OG. Like you this was part, I think, of our when we did our Disney Treasure thoughts and opinions of what they could be adding, and you said if they were to add like a themed Haunted Mansion lounge or bar, it's like money coming in.
Money coming in. I think I've even suggested it in downtown Disney or even Disney Springs. I mean, they had so much success with Trader Sam's. That tiki room sort of bar, tiki room themed bar, and they've never really done that again. I mean, they kind of did it with Jock Lindsay's, right? But this is money in the bank. So it says here, this is from Entertainment Weekly. It says here, see first look photos of Disney's Haunted Mansion bar that expands the ride's story and revives the Donald Duck chair. Now, I don't know what the Donald Duck chair is. Maybe that's a Florida thing. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, so when you're in the Haunted Mansion ride in Walt Disney World, and it gets to the hallway scene, they have the night suit on the right, and then to the left of the hallway, they had the Donald Duck chair. The Donald Duck chair was something that the original Imagineers squabbled over as to the placement of the chair, and they finally said, fuck it, we're just going to put it here. And it's this chair that has become popular through the bizarre Disney culture. So
that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, it says here that EW has an exclusive first look at the upcoming Haunted Mansion parlor aboard the Disney Treasure cruise ship, which will become the company's first lounge experience based on the beloved attraction when it sets sail alongside the vacation vessel in December 2024. So, okay, Slimer, I'll start with you, brother. You and I are I would say we're beer aficionados, right? We love our beer. What's your take on this? Do you love it or hate it? Like it? Where do you stand?
So Trader Sam's, lightning struck. Oga's Cantina, lightning struck twice. Hyperspace Lounge, I think it's pretty popular. This is how many times does lightning have to strike before Disney's just like, you know what? I think making IP based lounges and restaurants is something that we just need to go and roll off of an assembly line. And that's exactly what they're doing right here. They're capitalizing on the massive fan base of the Haunted Mansion IP. I mean, look, people like being scared. What better way to do it than fearing alcohol poisoning and combining it with horror ride? So
it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
No, this is fantastic. I mean, it's such a good idea. Everybody came up with the idea at the same time. I mean, how many people have been talking about a Haunted Mansion themed bar lounge?
Exactly.
So my question though is do you think it belongs on a cruise ship? One, and two, is this enough for you guys to now book a Disney cruise on the Treasure? I think
it belongs on the cruise, but I don't think they should stop there. Right. I would love to see a version of this at Downtown Disney. I would love to see a version of this in Florida, whether it be Disney Springs or what have you. I think these Disney themed bars, they're obviously very popular, and it sets it apart from everyone else. Like when you go to Downtown Disney, and there's a lot of stores in there that you can get anywhere, like Sephora, for example. My local mall has a Sephora. It's nothing special. Why do I need to go to Downtown Disney for that, right? these malls that are on Disney property, they should offer more of these unique Disney experiences. And this kind of stuff is absolutely perfect. What do you think, George?
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like this belongs on the Disney Cruise Line. I do find it kind of odd that they're putting it on this particular ship. Like there's certain things on this ship that I'm trying to like kind of get a grasp on because they call it the Disney Treasure. So it's like I actually agree with your past notion, OG, where that the one that's going to be in Singapore is going to be called the Disney Adventure. I think that the treasure should have been called the Adventure, and the Adventure should have been called the Treasure. You know, because it seems like there's more like adventurous stuff on the ship rather than just titled as like the Treasure.
Is this a ship that has the Moana stage show as well?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So again, more adventure. Like I'm like getting those adventure vibes, but that's just me. That's just like slim pickings, you know. That's just me like nitpicking. But as far as it being on the cruise line itself, I think it's great. I feel like that Disney is going to end up capitalizing on this, and they're going to keep doing it because on top of having this one on the Treasure, they're also having the Jungle Cruise themed bar lounge area as well. So there's like multiple areas where they are incorporating theme park quality style attractions, but adding it in a different way on the cruise line, which I think is great. I just hope that Disney utilizes it well and doesn't cannibalize it where it's like they're just kind of just saying, okay, let's do a Muppet themed bar, you know what? Like, dude, I mean, I love the Muppets. Awesome. Well, I mean, I love the Muppets, but I mean, like, I think like they should do like something a little bit different than it just being like a bar. You like where they just like take every little thing, and just, I mean, the one that I would love to see is the Twilight Zone type of bar, type of thing. That I would love to see, but that I would rather see. Instead of on a cruise ship, I would love to see that in the park. Like maybe like extend that part of the attraction. So it's like you can actually exit off the attraction. And if you want to go have like a beer or a cocktail or something where you enter in through the hotel lounge sort of thing, that would be really cool. But I think honestly, it's going to give tons of revenue to Disney. And as I said, if it, as Slimer had mentioned, you know, they struck lightning in a bottle twice with Oga's Cantina. Well, actually, I would even think 3 times. They did the Hyperspace Lounge, Oga's Cantina, and
Trader Sam's.
Trader Sam's. So, I mean, if it works, you know, if it's not broken, don't fix it. You know, you just keep going full steam ahead.
Exactly.
But like you said, you know, placement is really important, and they have to be really mindful of it because one wrong IP or you know, putting it in the wrong spot, and you know, people will be up in a frenzy even though they're getting something really good out of it. You know, it's like, you know, it's like the Haunted Mansion. Like let's say they were put this in Walt Disney World. Okay, would you rather have it at Disney's Port Orleans Resort, or would you rather have it replace a Columbia Harbor House?
Oh, Columbia Harbor House. Bye. Like that place can go. I remember who was it? I can't remember if it was you, OG, or if it was Dre. It was either you or Dre. I think it was Dre. He said, "How about we go to the Columbia Harbor House?" I'm like, "Nope, you can. I'm not."
Yeah, that had to have been Vash because I don't even know that. I don't even know what that is, to be honest.
Yeah, but actually, now that I think about it, OJ, that was actually a very bad example because now that I think about it, I think the Muppets would be a dope.
Dude, like when you said that, I'm like, dude, like that was a bad
that was a bad example. That was a bad example.
That would be freaking awesome, man. You kidding me? Oh my god. Now I want to ask you, Slimer, because I've talked about it ad nauseum on this channel. I think I've talked to you about it a lot, George, as well. Your thoughts, because you mentioned placement, which I agree is important. What are your thoughts overall? Like, say, for example, Disneyland, right? There's a lot of like, we talked a lot the other day about Disney adults, George, you know, and a lot of like this weird sort of religious sort of sentiment towards Disney in general. And it's especially true with Disneyland. It's like the Holy Land, right? With a lot of fans. And Walt didn't want alcohol in his parks back in 1955. So 70 years later, we're going to stick to it no matter how society evolves, right? Basically. But like what are your thoughts on that? Right, like for a park like Disneyland that would add alcohol to it. Do you think that is something that like maybe they shouldn't do because he did say that so many years ago, or do you feel like time? Like I personally feel times move on and you have to adapt a little bit. But what's your take on it, sir?
I mean, if we want to stay with the true biblical interpretation of the Walt Disney Bible, then no, we can't have any alcohol at the Disneyland park. But no, in all seriousness though,
in Walt we trust.
Yeah,
in Walt's holy name, amen.
Yeah, I think that whole idea is it's a little too conservative. I mean, it's 2023. We pretty much serve alcohol everywhere else in all the Walt Disney parks. Why not serve it into Disneyland as long as it's done responsibly?
Right.
I don't see why it's a big issue. Yeah. I mean, there's the middle road is almost always the right path to take. And we can find a nice happy medium where we can satisfy the people that don't want alcohol in the parks and the people that just want to enjoy a really unique, drinking theme experience and people even get affected by it. I would feel like for the most part.
I remember when they first made that announcement when Be Our Guest was getting alcohol at the Magic Kingdom. It was like, oh my gosh, you can hear like satellites linking up into outer space, and it was like beaming down into the parks. It's like you could hear like everyone just like you could feel everybody's like tension and anger. And I'm like, come on, it's like Epcot had alcohol in it for how long? Oh, but it's Epcot. Magic Kingdom is completely different. It's like, come on. I mean, I had a bigger problem, and no offense to people who smoke, I get it, but it's like I had a bigger problem with people smoking in the parks.
Yeah.
Than alcohol.
Because that directly affects my family, your family, everyone who doesn't smoke. So if I have to sit there now and smell cigarette smoke, and my kid has to smell smoke, that's affecting us and our health. If someone wants to drink, that's on them. That's their liver, not mine.
Exactly.
I don't really care, I mean, unless it gets to where this person is like completely plastered and they're acting inappropriate at the park. Obviously, Disney has to address that. And I've seen Disney address that. And I think they've handled it well over the years. So,
Slimer, can I ask you a quick question, being that OG brought that up?
Sure.
I know a lot of people go on social media where they say, okay, late nights at Epcot, you see people like just staggering out of the park and they're just so wasted, they're drunk or this or that. I mean, I've been going to Walt Disney World since I was 9 years old, and I have yet to see that because I would stay even in through the extra magic hours where the parks would stay open an extra 3 hours in the evening, like where the park would close at like 1, 2 a.m. in the morning. I personally never seen that. Have you personally seen that? Or if not, or if you have, does it seem like online that people kind of exaggerate that or are there guests that have actually completely blitzed themselves out, walking out of the park?
Okay, so this is only my own experience. So this is, a sample size of one. I realize, the obvious there, but I've never seen anybody walk out of a park completely belligerently drunk, having to be dragged out. I've never seen security having to detain or escort somebody out because they drank too much alcohol. I haven't seen it at any of the bars. I haven't seen it at Epcot. I've gotten close to being that way myself.
I was just gonna say you haven't been with me yet, so like don't count your chickens before they hatch.
Wait till you guys come down here. If there's a reason for us to get banned, we'll give them a fucking reason. All right.
Real quick, I was gonna say George was so blissed that one day at the Poly, man. Oh my god!
Because really quick before you finish your point, Slimer, OG wanted this thing, the mug. Yep, there you go.
Okay,
and they give you the alcohol with it, and it's like, and he just wanted the mug. I was like, fine, you take the mug. You don't want the alcohol. I'll be like, I'll take it. And I already had like 2 drinks in me. And I swear the one that came with the drink, the mug, excuse me, was like, it was like some exotic shit. Like I couldn't even like depict what was in it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I had my Miami Vice button shirt and I had my shades on and
like
I was
unbuttoned to like here too.
Yeah. It was like down to my navel. And I was like, oh man, I have a picture. I'll have to show you the picture.
Oh, I gotta see Don fucking Johnson George.
It's fantastic. But go ahead, Slimer. Do apologize, sir.
No, I've never seen it. This is one of those like, this is like one of those scenarios where people again aren't holding the standards evenly across the board when it comes to the theme parks. Because like go to Halloween Horror Nights, all right? And you want to talk about belligerent people?
Jesus.
Oh my god! But nobody's complaining about, hey, we got to stop serving alcohol at Halloween Horror Nights. No, what are you kidding me? It's part of the experience, right? Like if you don't see drunk people at Halloween Horror Nights, then the event really hasn't started. So I don't want to hear it. I really don't want to hear it just because examples are so little. Now, there was an article, I think it was on WDW, or it might have been one of those websites I was reading the other day. There was a mom that came to Epcot with her kid, and I think she arrived a little bit later, like at 4 o'clock. And can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, cool.
You're good.
And apparently some young male started screaming at her, 6-year-old kid, and one of the cast members came up to her and apologized, but she had a bad experience. But I mean, those are so far and few between. It just doesn't justify limiting everybody else's experience because you have these little onesies and twosies. I mean, you can say that about anything. I mean, like, it's hot outside, people get fucking angry, you stand in their shade, they're gonna punch you because you're standing in their shade. I mean, like,
right. So what are you gonna do? Ban the shade? It's
we can do ban shade because nobody can have it because this one guy's like, it's my shade, it's hot outside.
Now before we move to our next topic, I do want to we have one more guest I want to bring in. He has an opinion on drinking at the parks and these themed bars. Let me bring him on real quick. I agree, Chewy. I agree. Just it's all good.
And before you move on to before we move over to the West Coast OG, I just have a little honorable mention topic. That it was announced, I believe it was today, that the Skyliner.
Oh no, we're gonna talk about that. We are gonna talk about that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, it's on the book. I'm just kind of mixing it up a little bit. I'm just mixing it up. Yeah,
cool.
No,
we're sorry, I didn't know if we were going to do Disney World and then move over to Disneyland. Okay.
No, we will definitely bring that up. We will definitely talk about that. Okay. So this is actually officially today, and this is our good friend Just Ask Danny. He's the co-host of Speculation Sunday with Five Fires Mondo every Sunday. Love their show. We love Danny and Mondo. They're fantastic. But he tweeted this today. This is officially from the Disney Parks blog. We have a date. Disney Parks just shared the Adventureland Treehouse will finally open on Friday, November 10th, 2023. This thing has been down, for like 2 years. Okay. This is crazy. Now, I don't know what the deal is with this. My only guess with this is 2 things. I think the treehouse obviously is very old, so it probably needed a lot of work. They probably took this time to really go in there and fix like maybe structural problems this thing had. So that took a lot of the time. Also, I think it's a lot of financial maneuvering. If you want to spread this out over multiple quarters, it makes it a little easier to digest. But I'm just glad we finally got a date. I'm really glad. A lot of this stuff harkens back to like the original version of the treehouse. I think it's awesome. What do you think, George?
Yeah, I mean, I love the overall aesthetics of the treehouse. I love how it's. I'm trying to think that it's still based off of an IP, but it's an IP of something that was original and something that it's not really up to date with today's generation. But I like that. I like how it's just not, it's not a treehouse inspired by Moana. God forbid. I'm glad that Disney has started to kind of go back to their roots, and we kind of saw that of what they're doing with Test Track, how they're going to incorporate a newer type version of the ride, but it harkens back to the World of Motion, the original classic attraction that Test Track replaced. So they're kind of doing that with the treehouse, but I love how it's just inspired. Well, I love all that inspired by Moana, inspired by Swiss Family, Walt Disney, Swiss Family Treehouse. At least they added Walt Disney's name in it.
That's true.
I do love that, but I love how they just call it the Adventureland Treehouse. It's not really depicted as a full IP, so yeah. I think it's a breath of fresh air, to be honest with you.
That's interesting. This is where we may disagree a little bit, George. I don't mind either version. Like if they want to do the Adventureland Treehouse, that's cool. But I think if they're going to do, I think they should pick one, right? Like, so I think that if you're going to go Adventureland Treehouse, then go full Adventureland Treehouse. So have each branch themed to like maybe a different attraction. Maybe have like Jeep parts
Oh, that's interesting.
Right, from the Indiana Jones, right? Build like the little house on one side, and maybe you have like a tiki room style house on this side of the tree, and really go full on Adventureland with it. I think that would be really dope.
That does make sense. I mean, because when you look at that title, I mean, that's like Adventureland Treehouse, inspired by Walt Disney Swiss Family Robinson. So, what do you think? How do you think people are going to respond to it? Because obviously, no one on God's green earth is going to say that whole title every single time. Do you think they'll lean more towards the Adventureland Treehouse, or just go back to the Swiss Family Treehouse?
I think the old school folks like us, we're going to say Swiss Family, but I think the normies are going to look at the sign and just say Adventureland Treehouse. But what are your thoughts on this, Slimer? What do you think about this re-theme? We finally get a date. What are your thoughts?
All right, so I'm trying to remember what it was like when I was a kid. All right, so when I was a kid, I used to love the Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse. That was one of my favorite things at the Magic Kingdom. So in terms of whose responses we really should be paying attention to, I really think that we can have oh, what's this crew gonna say? What's that crew gonna say? I'm gonna say Swiss Family Robinson because that's what I grew up with. I think most people would just say Treehouse. I don't think they'd even say the Adventureland part. They'd probably just drop that entire moniker. But I want the kids to be able to experience the Treehouse. I think that's that was for me one of my most memorable experiences going through the Magic Kingdom. I used to come in and I was like, hey, fucking Adventureland Treehouse was the first thing I always did. When you're a ball of energy, you can do that kind of stuff too, Right. But I'm really excited for the kids to start experiencing that because for me it was so memorable. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much my entire opinion on it. I don't have a very complex opinion on the Treehouse, but yeah, I think it's a really cool attraction. I'm glad they still have it. I checked it out when I was over there. I was there in 2017. It was still, what was it, Tarzan?
Yeah, it was Tarzan back then.
Yeah. I mean, it was appropriate for the time, but I do like the nod. It's kind of like a Swiss Family Robinson. Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Or they do like the Disney lingo, like where they abbreviate everything, like so people don't have to. It would be the abbreviations of TATIWDSFR.
Yeah, it's crazy. I actually I mean, they could have easily have just mothballed this thing and let it sit there and just be decoration when you walk by. I mean, they easily could have, and I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad that they fixed it up, they retrofitted it, they freshened it up, they beautified it, and it's going to reopen. And I think that's awesome. Because like I said, this is something that doesn't have great capacity from what I understand. It wasn't it's never been like a hugely popular thing, right? And so the fact that they spent the money to even do it and bring it back, I'm happy. I'm real happy. So now moving on to our next topic. This is gonna be interesting. This is courtesy of Deadline. Disney announces opening date for Pixar Place Hotel at the Disneyland Resort. Okay, so this is fascinating. It says here the transformation of Disneyland's Paradise Pier Hotel into a Pixar-themed hotel will be completed and open for business January 30th, 2024, Disney announced today. Okay, the Pixar Place Hotel will be the first fully themed Pixar hotel in the U.S., according to Disney, which also released renderings of the hotel guest rooms and the lobby. Okay, so I believe they show them down here. So that's one of the rooms. Let's start with this. George, what do you think of this? Do you like this? Don't like it? What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so
you going balls to the wall, George?
I'm going balls to the wall.
Here we go. Let's go.
So my issue currently with the Disney resort hotels, I'm just going to be just a little bit of a negative Nancy here for a second. I love the overall theming of how Disney encompasses for a themed resort hotel. However, when you go into the rooms, they all pretty much look the same. Aside from like when you go into like the Polynesian or what have you, it has that Polynesian kind of quality. If you go into any of the all-star resorts, the value resorts at Walt Disney World, I'm just giving these as an example. You have the sports, you have the music, you have the movies. I remember going into not every single room, but like depending on which hotel I was at and which section I was in. For instance, like All-Star Music, they have the country western section, they have the jazz section, the rock and roll section. And anytime you would go into one of those rooms, depending on which section you were staying in, the room would be themed to that. Or if you were staying at the All-Star Movies, if you were in the 101 Dalmatians section or the Mighty Duck section or the Fantasia section, when you go into any one of those rooms, that room would be themed to that particular area. You do that now, all the rooms are the same, no matter what section you're staying at. Now, I'm not saying that as I still enjoy staying in the Disney bubble. If someone were to ask me, do you want to stay at one of the all-star resorts or do you want to stay off property? Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, I'm staying on property. That's just me. I'll be that way till the day I die. But I feel like Disney should kind of get out of this funk, so to speak, with these kind of IKEA style rooms. I'm not a fan of it. Like, I look at that. If someone were to show me that picture, like in a glance, it doesn't scream Pixar to me. Yeah, you see like little things here or there, but I mean, like, I would have to like really like observe it and analyze it to say, okay, this is Pixar themed. If I just looked at, like, there's nothing like that has that Pixar play kind of quality to it.
Well, someone on Twitter, I think her name is Pixie Dust Beth, I believe, and she actually had concept art. I guess she's an artist. Where her idea, which I thought was brilliant, was to actually adopt the Midway Mania theme, that Victorian Pixar kind of vibe, and incorporate that into this hotel. So when you go into these rooms, it's very Victorian, but it has those like Toy Story, or you can even add other, Pixar IP in there as well. It doesn't have to be Toy Story necessarily. I thought that would have been a really classy, elegant style for this hotel.
Honestly, I really hate to say this. This kind of looks like a pediatric waiting room.
I was going to say a rooms to go catalog.
Totally. What are your thoughts overall, Slimer?
I mean, it's a cost saving measure, and you really can't fault them for the cost saving measures that they incorporate into these rooms. If you were to show me a picture of this without any context, I'd probably ask you, did you redecorate your kid's bedroom?
Right.
I think it passes. It doesn't pass with flying colors. I think, I like that it's new. It does have some really unique and uncontemporaneous lighting. But if the idea is the families are going to be at the parks and they're going to be spending money elsewhere and the rooms are just a place to sleep, then I can see why they'd want to spend less time and energy and money on theming. But I can also see George's point when you're coming from highly themed hotels and resorts and you're paying, buku money out the ass, you kind of expect that level of theming to this. Yeah, I could see the disappointment, but I'm going to play devil's advocate and say that that it's just enough, and the average person is probably not going to care, and I think that's who they're really aiming these resorts to.
Well, and to Disney's credit too, I will say this: depending on the future of what this hotel is going to become, because I have the funny feeling this Pixar Play type of thing is not going to be permanent. So this could be Disney's way of saying, you know what, let's just kind of half-ass it, so to speak, because eventually in the next 10 years, this hotel may not even be in the placement of where it's at because of Disneyland Forward.
Right. Well, yeah. For those at home, this hotel sits over I believe it's the Pumbaa lot or Simba lot or something like that, which is the expansion pad for DCA that they show for the Disneyland Forward plans. So I could see Disney saying, "Hey, look, we need to update this hotel, obviously, because we have to switch it over to Pixar because Paradise Pier no longer exists. Let's do it in a value kind of way, make it passable, like Slimer was saying, for maybe a decade. But when we want to go in there." In a decade and expand DCA, we'll just bulldoze it, but this will get us through those 10 years just fine. I think that's kind of the mindset with this thing. I don't think this is a long-term solution at all. This is like, we're freshening it up in the meantime, but likely once that DCA expansion moves into there, I think it'll go. I really do.
Now, do we know what the price range is for this? Is it around the same, or did the price go up?
That I don't know. I didn't look into that. I'm sure it's expensive. It's a Disney hotel, so I'm sure it's an arm and a leg,
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
What does that hotel generally cost?
Because I know it's usually out of the three, it's usually always the lowest. I mean, lowest out in California standard, you're looking at like $400 to $500 for Yeah, for when it was the Paradise Pier.
Well,
And then Disneyland Hotel, you're looking at like between 6, 7, and then Grand Californian, you're looking between maybe like high 700, 800.
would you say that's a lot of money, George?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brand new money, brand new hundreds, got a bunch of zeros like a bag of new Funyuns.
That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Yeah, no, it's expensive. Now the Grand Cali, actually, I've stayed there a few times. Not often. I'm not balling like that, but a handful of times. And I think that hotel is worth it. I just love the experience there. It's super cozy. But this thing, I don't know if I would pay these prices for Pixar.
Oh no, I agree with you. Actually, I would pay the upcharge more to stay at the Grand Californian because
Right.
that has a much better overall theme than saving like $300 and going on that.
Yeah. Well, the thing too is, and right before we get into Disney,
Or going to that. Sorry, I looked at the Skyliner and I said going on that. You don't go on a hotel room. It's like
but when you compare that to what you can get at the Walt Disney World, I mean, you can get I stayed at the Animal Kingdom Lodge a couple of months ago, and I think we booked it for about $383 a night, and that's not a value resort. I mean, that's their top of the line resort. When you can get that for $383, it's kind of hard to justify a Pixar themed contemporary styled room with like rooms to go style furniture or IKEA style furniture. So yeah.
Well, and it's also the difference we talk a lot about on the channel between themed and decorating. Like the Pixar thing is almost just decorated, right?
Yeah.
You're just taking pictures of Brave and Up and putting them on the wall. Where what you're talking about, the Animal Kingdom Lodge is like real theming. It transports you,
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the thing too with a lot of Disneyland Resort really needs to like step it up with their hotels, because I mean, even out here, like, I mean, Las Vegas is only like maybe 4-hour drive from the LA, maybe OC area. It's only a few hours, and the hotels over there are leaps and bounds what they have at Disneyland Resort. So they really got to start thinking about that over there, So yeah, we'll see. But we're going back to Florida. This is WDWNT. Okay, this is the Disney Skyliner temporary closing for maintenance in early 2024. Walt Disney World Resort has announced that Skyliner, one of the methods of travel around the resort, will be going down for short maintenance in 2024. Now, George, I'll start with you. Like, this is interesting. This is a fairly new thing. Is this something that breaks down a lot over at Disney World? I mean, we didn't go on this when we were there, but is this pretty reliable? Or?
So it is very reliable. I do enjoy taking the Skyliner, especially if you are staying at one of the resort hotels that's en route with the Skyliner that goes to Epcot or Hollywood Studios, or it even makes stops at the Riviera Resort. So it stops at the Riviera. The hotels that are on the Skyliner route is the Disney Riviera Resort, the Caribbean Beach Resort, Pop Century, and Art of Animation share one. Slimer, am I missing any?
I don't think so.
I don't think. Yeah, so, and then it takes you to like a station, kind of looks like Grand Central, and then you can kind of choose which path you want to go to, whether you want to go to Epcot or Hollywood Studios. There have been times that it has, I don't want to say broken down, but just not working properly. And they also shut the Skyliner down when inclement weather comes into play, just for safety purposes. But overall, I enjoy the sense of transportation. Sometimes I just do it as an experience, just to say that I did it. But I think it's kind of interesting. Well, I can understand why Disney is doing this now, because obviously, it's going to have some maintenance time, and probably the best time to do it is after the holidays. So, why not do it early 2024? But what I find kind of interesting is they're doing this around the time that they started giving the hotel discount for up to 35% off. Now, I don't know if Disney kind of did that as an accommodation sort of thing, but I have noticed that people are booking these hotels out very quickly. For the beginning of 2024, more so in January, and I'm just curious that they're filling up these hotel rooms, like for these, for like Pop Century or Art of Animation, and they're not going to have the Skyliner. So that, so I think, it kind of goes back and forth. I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it too, but I just find it kind of interesting that they're doing this around the time that they're giving out a hotel promotion.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. What do you think, Slimer?
Well, to expand on George's point here, this isn't the first time that they've done it either. They seem to regularly do maintenance on the Skyliner in the first quarter of the year, simultaneously when they're running a lot of hotel deals. Now, I can tell you that Pop Century, being one of the most popular hotels in Walt Disney World, not just because of the value, but because of the transportation to Hollywood Studios, this makes it really inconvenient. And I know from my own personal experience, once again, I realize it's anecdotal. It makes it very difficult to create that, that Pop Century Hollywood Studios connection. If you're trying to take advantage of a 35% value, let's say, discount, and then, just hop on the Skyliner and go right to Hollywood Studios. So, one, this is the first time they've done it, but early 2024, I mean, that could be as early as, does it say what month it is?
Let me double check.
I don't know if it says.
Let me see. It says here we'll be down for a short time in early 2024. Yeah, it says here, according to Disney, the Skyliner will be closed for routine maintenance from January 16th and will remain closed till the 21st. So very, very short time period.
This is what they did last time, and I think last time they even gave less notice. So this is an improvement, but 2 months is not, or what is it, 3 months out? It's really not enough. I mean, especially if you're doing international traveling, you're planning 6 months in advance. I mean, they got to give at least a 6-month window, 9-month window. I mean, 3 months is just not enough. Like George said, I mean, people have already booked Pop Century counting on this thing working because they've read online, hey, man, you got to see Pop Century. It's a really good deal. Plus, it can take you right to Hollywood Studios or, Riviera for that matter. It'll take you right to, the international gateway. So the time frame, it's unfortunate. Disney, you guys got to give guests at least 6 months.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with that. 100%. Yeah, I mean, and this is one of those rides where I agree with 6 months. I do applaud them for having fairly regular maintenance for this particular attraction, just because this could be a safety issue for people. When this thing breaks down and you're in those little cabins up there, from what I hear, it could take a while for them to get started, or if they have to, God forbid, evacuate you. You're in that thing. I mean, from what I understand, they even have don't they have survival pouches underneath the seats or something like that?
And shit bags.
And shit bags and stuff. So that tells you approximately how long you're going to be in there if you get stuck. So
God damn it, George.
Shit bags. Oh man. So yeah,
man, just thinking about having to take a shit on a Skyliner makes me sweat.
Can you imagine being up there with some other family and when they're when the dad is like, oh, I gotta take a shit. Now you're stuck in there with his.
It's like some old guy he's got in Constance. I can't hold it.
Oh shit.
It's like I knew I shouldn't have ate that chimichanga.
The fucking churros.
Gosh, that's horrible. That is absolutely horrible. Oh God.
And speaking of shit.
Exactly. There we go. That's a perfect segue, George. Perfect segue. Our last and final topic of the day is from WDW NT yet again. Disney Enchantment returning to the Magic Kingdom early next year, but there is a caveat to this. Disney Enchantment returning for Magic Kingdom for a Disney After Hours event. Okay, so next year, Disney's After Hours events at Magic Kingdom will commence on January 11th and run on select nights through April 8th. Okay, it says the Disney Enchantment Nighttime Spectacular debuted at Magic Kingdom on October 1st, 2021 for the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World. Performances stopped in April of this year as anniversary celebrations concluded. And they have a video here. So this is interesting. They're gonna have this show, Enchantment, for these after hours events. During the day, though, for everybody else, it's Happily Ever After, which is weird because that's the better show.
Right. Okay. So this was my biggest gripe when I saw this. I didn't even want to see this show when I was going in on a normal day with my annual pass. Why the fuck would I want to see this to pay for an upcharge and then see this thing? I don't get it. Not unless, and that's just me being sarcastic. But I did wonder. I wonder if they updated it a little bit. like I wonder like if they tweaked some things because
Well,
if it's
they had two
exactly
versions during the 50th.
right, so yeah, so I wonder if they, but I mean, I wonder if they even updated even a little bit more because you are now banking a show that used to be included in with your park ticket. Now it's you're paying an extra upcharge on top of your park ticket. They better give me something more because even Disney admitted themselves that they kind of dropped the ball with Enchantment and they took that guest feedback. So to bring that back of an upcharge is I think that's kind of a ballsy move, you know. So Disney better put their money where their mouth is. That if they're giving us Enchantment back, it better be more than that shit bag that they gave us back during the 50th.
Yeah, I better
Yeah.
see Roy projected on that fucking castle next to Walt. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you can't just have one Disney up there. But let me ask you this: do you guys think that they're doing Enchantment because it's the 100th, and this is just like a really easy re-theme, reskin for them, just to pop it on there for the 100th? You know, being that this was created for the 50th.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great point. I didn't consider that, Slimer,
Yeah.
but you're right. There's a lot of nostalgia in that, with like you said, the Walt and all that. Definitely, and that might be the play here. What do you think, George?
I actually didn't really think of that, but I mean, I think if they kind of tie it in with Happily Ever After, maybe a lot of people will kind of take to Enchantment because it's like you're not getting one or the other. It's like, oh, let's go down during this time. Yeah, let's pay the upcharge because then we could see two different fireworks shows at Magic Kingdom on the same night. Now, actually, the
Right.
fact that I thought of it the way I just worded it, that sounded pretty dope.
Yeah, fireworks shows in one night's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. So that's interesting. That's an interesting way to kind of come at this, you know. Yeah, I only saw Happily Ever After when I was down there. I never saw Enchantment. Now you, Slimer, you're more local. Have you seen this show? You've seen this show in person, right?
Yeah, I've seen Happily Ever After, Wishes, Enchantment. Yeah,
So,
so,
what do you-
so you've seen Enchantment? In
yeah, I've
person,
seen Enchantment. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
My
Where do you-
condolences.
well, condolences. Where do you rank this one compared to the more recent ones?
It's third.
Okay.
But I think that I was trying to think of some questions earlier, and like why would they pick Enchantment? And one of the reasons that I came up with was the question earlier. But then one of the other reasons is being that this is an after hours event, and that demographic is typically, millennials, some Gen Xers in there. Do you think that maybe they picked that because of the demographic of people that typically pay to go to these kinds of events? Do you think they have more of a nostalgic connection to Walt and perhaps aren't necessarily caught up in the pomp and circumstance of a fireworks show and maybe have more of that nostalgic connection and aren't sitting here, oh, it's not as good as Happily Ever After the way that we do it? Do you think that's a possibility?
What do you think, George?
That is interesting, yeah. Because if you take it from a demographic standpoint, for like the type of people that buy into these extra magic hour, events, they may say, you know what, they can kind of, lean more towards the nostalgic side. Or did they say any of these were going to be specifically themed, or is it just as just a normal extra magic?
It doesn't say. So that's where I was kind of going with it. Like I was thinking, like, because what Slimer was saying, like the 100th, maybe one of these events is a Disney 100th event, right? So it's like maybe that's the angle they're going with, because that show is more nostalgic with the Walt stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that could be an element of it here. Absolutely an element of it here. So I don't know, man. It's interesting. You're right, George, though. It's a ballsy move. This thing didn't really get a great reception. That's why Happily Ever After came back. And now you're going to double down and like charge for it. It's like,
Yeah.
Whoa.
So I'm wondering like if they did something to it, sort of like how they did with Harmonious, and now it's going to be, what is it, Luminous,
Yeah.
Luminous, or something, or something us. It's always us.
Yeah.
But I am very curious as to what their approach is, why they're doing this. But all in all, the fact that they're bringing the extra magic events back, I think is great.
Yep.
For all who want to utilize that, because I've done it twice, I believe. And a lot of times I skipped out of Magic Kingdom during the day because I knew I would only need a couple hours during that time, and you could practically go on anything. Now, of course, that was back in the day, where now, you know, you go to one of these events, you know, you may have it more packed than what it is during the day. I don't know. We'll
Right.
see.
You, you know what? And honestly, man, after magic hours should be mandatory between I would say June and September in Florida, just because it gets so fucking hot down here. I mean, you're talking about 105 plus with humidity. There are a whole slew of people who would say, "Fuck it, let's just wait until the sun goes down, and let's party then." And it should just be mandatory every year. I
Hey,
think that
Kenny Chesney and Uncle Cracker did it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, this is gonna be interesting. I'm very, very curious how this. Look, hey, for at the very bare minimum, you can do 2 fireworks shows, 2 different shows on the same night. That's pretty awesome. So
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, just that alone. Yeah, after hearing that out and saying that's pretty cool, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
gee, would you pay to go to the after hours if you know all they had to offer was is shorter wait times and enchantment? Is that something you would fork out the hard cash for?
I would, because I don't make it out to Florida very often. So for me to have that kind of experience where I'm getting the shorter wait times, I'm experiencing this now defunct show where, you know, who knows if it'll come back after this, we don't know. Yeah, I would. Now, if you flipped it though, and you offered this at Disneyland, where I'm at way more often, it's an older Disneyland fireworks show. I don't know if I do it then, because I've probably seen that show a ton of times already, and now I'm going to pay for that. And it's attractions I've been on a million times, so I don't know.
See, if Disney really wanted to do it up, they would have used Happily Ever After as the main showcase for this. Kept Enchantment a little bit longer, and then showcased Happily Ever After for these after hours events. Then, because you know people would have paid for that, and then after so long, then maybe do the swap.
Okay,
but I think out of the gate, Disney should have done that. I think people are going to be a little bit hesitant just because of Enchantment. Now, is that going to stop people from going to these? No, because they'll go to get the shorter wait times. You know, I'm for sure they'll have select, you know, specialty beverages and snacks and desserts and what have you. But as far as for Enchantment goes, I don't know if that's going to be the headliner of this of the after hours events.
Yeah, 100%. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you as always for joining today, talking Disney World and Disneyland Resort today. A lot of fun with you, gentlemen. Slimer, I know you don't have social media, but as always, it's an honor having you on the show, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I really like talking about you know, the topics that we had today. George put all these together pretty much last minute, and we hit all the topics that we personally wanted to talk about. I was very interested in Haunted Mansion, Disney. Let's go. Let's put in the parks, Disneyland, Walt Disney World. Everybody wants it. I got my money in my hand, ready to go. And you can find me right here on Orange Grove 55.
There you go. Slimer is a regular in our live chats. If you see him in the live chat, say hi to Slimer. Oh, and we gotta do his little drop. Here we go.
And all these dollars got commas that come with commas behind them. And all my slammers be slamming. And all my slammers be slamming. And all my slammers be slamming. And all my slammers be slamming.
There we go. There we go. And then we got over here the Italiano. George, thank you so much for joining us today, sir. If you could let everybody home know where they could find you on social media.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on the podcast, A Walk with Walt. And, of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Here we go. Perfect. Well, thank you, gentlemen, and everyone at home. Thank you for watching. Comment down below with all your thoughts on everything we discussed today. The Skyliner, Pixar Place Hotel, the Treehouse is finally opening. Oh my God! The Disney, the Walt Disney World dining notifications and all that stuff. That was interesting. Comment down below. We would love to hear from you. And as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.